In Nigeria, we lived 23 years as a family, and I was there 2 years engaged, but before we married. And we lived in several houses. First, I shared with two girls a bungalow when we had one room each, and then we shared all the other facilities. Then I lived on the second floor of a block alone until we wedded, and then my husband joined me, and then our family started growing, and then we moved two other times. First to a bungalow that with 2 bedrooms, and then next to a large house that was also a bungalow with 4 rooms, 3 rooms and a study, plus obviously the annex, what they call the boys' quarter. And you know, year on year, I started discovering the use that people were doing of their house, and that was quite away from what I was used to, because in colder countries like France or now in the UK where we live, to be house proud is quite normal, and because of the climate, you end up living quite a chunk of time in your house, and so obviously you decorate it, you put curtains, you ensure that the floor is adequate, you take care of the warming, you ensure that your house is energy efficient, so many things, because we lived there quite a number of hours per day. In Nigeria, it was quite different, and I quickly found out that walls were there in a way, but actually we lived in a house that was like without walls, because we spent a lot of time outside, either in the garden in front, but more time in the backyard. And the backyard ended up being like another lounge, another house part, and that was very, very important. And also, because we were so many, we couldn't afford a room for everyone, so everyone shared bedrooms. I shared one with my husband, the children shared one, and then the other people in the house shared, some shared the boys' quarters, the others were sleeping in the parlor, in the lounge during the night, because that was the only way out. And also the way we slept was different. In Nigeria, many people don't use a bed to sleep. They either use a mattress on the floor, or more so a mat, either a straw mat or a plastic mat, and some only a wrapper. You just put it on the floor, and you know, that was the way people slept in our house. And I experienced the same thing when I went to the ministry headquarters, because many a time either we shared a bed, some 5 people shared a bed that was meant for 2, or slept on the floor with mats. And so the notion of bedroom or lounge didn't really quite fit the function. Our last kitchen, at the time we were about 18 in the house, the kitchen was mostly unused, because there was no gas for the cooker. At the point we had in the past had gas cylinders that were outside, but that's fizzled out because gas became impossible to get, black market, and so we stopped buying gas, and we were using kerosene, and then kerosene became very hard, so we started using firewood. And obviously you cannot have firewood in your kitchen. Well, some people did, you know. When I was still in the flat upstairs and alone, one of my neighbors was using firewood in the middle of his kitchen, and that meant that there was a bit of a hole, you know, in the cement. But we used firewood and cooked outside in the backyard. The backyard was also a kind of alternative bathroom, where we washed the clothes because there was no running water. So people gathered the basin with water and then started washing all the clothes. And because there was no running water, there was no washing machine, obviously. So, you know, the backyard was the place to wash the clothes and hang them. It was the place where we cooked, we processed food like palm oil to become, oil to cook, gari that we processed and prepared, and that meant having a gigantic wok where we, roasted the gari for most of the day before it became okay to be stored. So people spent most of their time outside, but it was not quite outside because it was still in the compound, it was still in our own place, and the backyard was secluded because although the backyard faced the backyard of the neighbors, but from the street you wouldn't see it, so it was part of the house. And that was quite an interesting thing. And for the same reason, people didn't invest so much in decorating their house. Moreover, those houses didn't belong to us. It was part of the housing stock of the university that was given to staff to facilitate their work, because if you lived in town, you might have difficulties sometimes coming in time to teach. So those houses didn't belong to us, and people didn't really bother spending, scarce money to repaint it or decorate it, and especially for us as a family, because we invested all our money into children and education, we couldn't afford decorating our house. So the furniture was a bit scarce. But that was an interesting way of looking at the house. So the house was really a shelter in times of rain. It was also a cupboard in a way, where you put things that were important. And then yourself, you were always in and out, and the doors were always open. We hardly locked our home, and the windows were also open because of the climate. We needed some fresh air. So that was a very, very interesting way of looking at architecture and house management.